I read today when people leave movements after big losses, something like 50% of them don't come back a few months later once they're rested. They just duck out.
Hey, what's up guys? It's Tony and welcome back to Activism on the Fly, the place where we talk about becoming better allies, advocates, and activists. Thanks so much for joining, and for those of you who are new, thanks for stopping by. Please check out any of the other videos to find out what this whole thing's all about. Today we're going to be talking about activist fatigue. What is it? Why does it happen? And what are some strategies that we can use to mitigate the feelings of overwhelm, burnout, or despair that can crop up when you are fighting for social justice and equity. Why are we talking about this? Because after a particularly difficult news cycle and even more difficult interactions on social media, I decided that I needed to take a little break for myself, and I wanted to talk about the importance of self-care and activism with all of you. So let's get into it.
From what I've read from real activists, from sources that I trust, is that activist fatigue or activism fatigue is a real thing. It really happens, and here's why. This is like gut-wrenching work. The things that you're fighting against are like huge, dark things. They're like all-encompassing in American life, right? Systemic racism, it's in healthcare, it's in education, it's in housing, it's in policing, of course. Like, how do you fix something that is so interwoven in the fabric of America? It's too big. So that's one of the ways that people slip into the activism fatigue. The other is that as many short-term wins as you might have, you're going to have as many battles lost. And you're going for the war, right? But every time you have poured your heart and soul into something and you see momentum in the direction of equity and justice, and then it fails, it's lost by a couple votes or by a referendum, and you see how citizens really feel. It's like every loss, every battle lost is just really crushing. And this is especially true, I think, if you are a real activist, if this is your life's work, and if this is what you spend most of your time and effort focused on, because it's a lot of work. It is not like a one piece of legislation win type of thing. I mean, as we can see, after the Civil Rights Act of the 60s, we're still in a similar position. It's very easy to despair when you look at issues of racial justice in America, when you look at how long people have been fighting for the most basic fundamental rights of being a citizen, of having human dignity and value as a human being. It is really easy to throw your hands up and say, I can't fix it. Activism fatigue or activist fatigue is something that's talked about a lot more nowadays, and the reason is because it's important that people know that this is a real thing, and it happens, and it will happen to you if you are, fighting these fights. If you're wearing the white hat and you're trying to get things done and trying to build a more just and equitable world, you gotta buckle up for some heartbreak, for some long days, for an emotional toll. If we all know about it, then we can take steps to mitigate the after effects of these kind of low moments in activism. I feel guilty even feeling so spent because I'm not a marginalized person. I'm not a person of color. I'm not someone who has to deal with the real impacts of systemic racism in our country and of violence. I feel like an imposter. I don't feel like I can call myself a true activist, right? What does it mean? I'm seeking education and investing in that. And I'm donating money, and I'm signing petitions, and I'm making phone calls and sending emails, and I'm disseminating information. but I don't feel that I could call myself an activist. That is the place where I would like to get to eventually, and that's what I'm working towards. So for someone like me, there's kind of a feeling of guilt associated with needing a break. Do any of you guys feel this way? Like simultaneously, you're not doing enough, but you also sometimes need to take breaks. So what are some things that we can do to combat activist fatigue? The big one, which encompasses a lot of smaller things that you can do, is take care of yourself. It sounds simple, but really this is kind of the key. Get enough sleep, drink water, eat nourishing foods. When you feel yourself going into a dark place, when you feel depressed, when you feel despair, when you feel overwhelmed, like it's all too big and too much, give yourself a little time, give yourself a little break, and then, come back later. This can't be your 100% of the time. So once you accept that this has to be part of your life, that you can't do it all, that you can't single-handedly accomplish all of these things, it takes the pressure off a little bit. And it's kind of hard to give into self-care because you feel like, where do I get off taking this break for myself when I'm in this privileged position and other people are suffering? And I feel that in my bones. Like, I get that feeling, but you have to accept that you can't do everything, because if you are not taking care of you, then you're not going to be a sustainable force for positive change for the future. Taking care of yourself in the day-to-day allows you to sustain for longer. So what are my recommendations for taking your self-care breaks? Get off social media. Social media can be hard to put down, especially if you are a white person getting a lot of your information via social media, your information on racial equity and in racial issues and issues of justice. Taking breaks from social media can really just be an instant mood booster, and you can still be doing good work without watching vitriol and without engaging in arguments and without seeing all of that negativity in your face on this screen all day. Not saying do it forever, but breaks are important. Move your body. Yeah, sorry to sound like an exercise guru or something, but go for a walk, go for a run, do some yoga. I find that listening to podcasts that are positive or that are thought-provoking kind of helps to center and ground me. Going for long drives. This past weekend, I took myself a self-care break. I spent the day on a layover. Instead of getting productive work done, I spent it walking in Central Park with one of my good friends. Being outside in the fresh air, like talking to a friend, that provided a lot of relief for me. And I would highly recommend that instead of retreating into yourself and into the dark parts of the internet, that you call up a friend, go for a hike, just like get it out, even just like talk to someone about how you're feeling, and then kind of try to talk about something else for a little while to give yourself a break. You don't have to stop everything altogether. You could just do something that's a little lighter, like something in a creative space. Check out spoken word that describes the experience, or like watch artistic, and I'm gonna repeat that, artistic videos. I don't think you, if you're taking a mental health break, should get on YouTube and start searching, because the rabbit hole that you'll fall down probably won't be calming for your sensibilities and probably won't give you that rest that you need to prepare you for more days of fighting in the future. It will make you feel like fighting now. Music, plays, art. This is something that will nourish you at the same time as keeping you kind of in the game, right? And it's just a different space. Try journaling. Not to sound too like whatever, but I have been writing morning pages every morning. I write 3 pages with my hand, with my arm and hand every day, and it kind of just like gets the stuff out. And a lot of people recommend doing this at night so that you can kind of get rid of all that stuff that happened in the day and maybe sleep more peacefully. So those are just some recommendations. One caveat that I will say about the seeking of positivity, I would just caution to be careful about the source where you're getting your positivity from. Podcasts, words of affirmation, inspiring stories. There are some big names in the business of positivity, and this is a very white market. So let's just like say that because it's true and keep it in mind. Some of these positivity kind of gurus are of the opinion that when people go through bad times, when they go through tragic events in their life, when they live in poverty, when they are living with addiction, when they are, living in an oppressed system, that somehow they have not vibrated properly. Victim blaming just isn't okay ever. Putting the culpability of oppression on the oppressed people is really messed up. It's wrong because people who are living under the fist of an oppressive system did not choose that for themselves. They wouldn't choose it for themselves. They wouldn't choose it for their children. It's not, they didn't vibrate the wrong way. They were just born into a system in which the dominant majority has decided that they are worth less. So please keep that in mind when you are shopping around for your personal positivity development. It would be easy to spot those individuals in that space. I'll leave some links from people that I like to listen to, podcasts I like to listen to that help me kind of zen out and get into a better headspace. I'll leave some like yoga links too to the people that I watch on YouTube and practice with. And I'll also leave some articles about this topic of activist fatigue so that you guys can read up about it a little more. And, if any of you have been feeling this kind of overwhelm, burnout, anger, despair, then just know you are not alone, because I had a serious emotional roller coaster this weekend. And I have cycled through all of those feelings at one point or another, and I am in the very early stages of my activism journey. So if you guys have tips, please leave them in the comments below. Tell me how you beat the activism blues. Tell me what has been kind of the hardest thing or the most triggering thing or the thing that set you off. Are you like me? Do you feel like you're not entitled to need rest because you're privileged and you shouldn't need rest? Let me know what you guys think. That's all I got for you today. I hope that this resonated for someone, even one person. Thank you guys so much for stopping by Activism on the Fly. Have a great weekend, and I will see you next time.